She was as proud as a girl could be. There's something true about red, white, and blue about Rosie the Riveter. The city of Richmond, California was transformed during the Second World War as it became the center for shipyards, attracting many laborers to the west. The town thrived, having many beneficial areas of productivity, including their large railroad center. There was a deep harbor for docking that was dug up from these marshlands. It was open to agricultural opportunity, and there were also many potential workers ready to work, being recruited from the eastern United States as well as Europe. So the war itself demanded help. Nearly half of all Americans were involved. California's role at home became one of patriotism and optimism during this industrial boom. At the Rosie the Riveter World War II Homefront National Historical Park in Richmond, California, visitors can leave with an understanding of the tone of the time. It is about change being a community effort, as we must unite for progress. The Visitor Center is quite an informative atmosphere with helpful rangers and docents who are very passionate about preserving this history as a positive message to the community. Rosie stood for an empowerment for women of the time who could enter the workforce and were faced with new tasks to step up and do the work men normally would, such as welding and shipbuilding.
Such prejudices or practices. Teams of women flush the rivets.
Need any fun projects? These are loaded.
My wife works, people think I can't support her.
One of the park rangers, Kalen Hager, attended school at DVC actually, currently studying geography at San Jose State. He answered a few questions of mine. He definitely seemed to be informed and enjoyed sharing his knowledge in the interview. He hopes to make a difference. Being concerned with the environmental issues of climate change, he views this period as a time for sacrifices, as the sacrifices many laborers had to take in this new world of work. I asked Kalen about the different ships that were made here. He mentioned that there had been 740 ships made here, including Liberties, Victories, a few small passenger ships, and 4 or 5 aircraft carriers, as well as having 4 different shipyards in the area. Which was really astonishing is that the 1,490 ships from California accounted for 27% of all maritime effort around the world during World War II. The next question, who do you think had the largest impact for Richmond at the time? Henry Kaiser clearly had a powerful impact in which these shipyards really could not exist without. He got the contracts to build such areas of shipping production. He also developed a 3-tier healthcare system and changed the way safety precautions were handled in the workplace. This was something that really hadn't been seen before. The next question I had for Kalen was, how did the war effort affect Richmond for what it stands for today? So he explained the rural landscape of Richmond, and it was considered a working man's town. Kaiser and his plans were encouraging a boom in the labor force, recruiting immigrants from all over. People were getting tickets to the West. The population expansion did come with a variety of culture clashes occurring, however, as these racial and gender tensions began to rise. And lastly, I asked Kalen what he hopes to share with the people that visit the museum. So the park hopes to encourage this idea of community effort with everyone pitching in, taking a sacrifice to improve the well-being of society and the circumstances that allow for growth and prosperity. So although these uniting cultures often came into conflict, there was an energy in the air, an optimism as the city was constantly in motion with the bustling new jobs workers are ready to take. So being a sociology major, this trip was interesting for me to understand the evolving social changes as a milestone that would shape California industry and the workforce in which it stands today. So the war gave so many opportunities to these groups of people who had not had this kind of influence and recognition in society before. The necessity for labor had to outweigh these social barriers and discrimination. My dad has been working in the shipping industry for nearly 30 years, so it was quite interesting to see where it all began. He often goes to the Kaiser shipyard for work, supervising the unloading of various cargo, for instance. It had definitely been quite an informative and enlightening visit to the Rosie the Riveter National Homefront.